Folks, my latest book, Act Like a Success, Think Like a Success, has hit #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. I'm very proud of the book, and not just because it's doing well, but because it has the potential to help so many of you find fulfillment, which is the reason I wrote the book in the first place. I want to talk to you about a chapter in the book, chapter 3, which I entitled, Take the Lid Off the Jar. Those of you who own a pet, a dog, you're very familiar with they have the possibility of catching fleas. Fleas are one of the smallest insects. Fleas have one of the highest vertical leaps of any living insect based on their size. A flea has a 36-inch vertical leap. Now, if you capture a flea and you put it in a jar and you put the lid on the jar, that flea still has a 36 vertical leap. So it will start jumping in that jar until it hits his head. And once it hits his head, he starts making adjustments. So then the flea reduces his jump, and he jumps just high enough to where he almost touches it, but he don't hit the lid and get knocked back down. Now, if you put another flea in there, that flea has a 36-inch vertical. And then once they find out they get knocked down a little bit, that flea starts jumping just before the lid so it don't get knocked down. Funny thing happens. If these fleas have baby fleas in a jar, these fleas are born with a 36-inch vertical. But because their parents are showing them only a 4 or 5-inch jump so they don't get hit, these baby fleas who are born with 36-inch verticals, they jump just as high as their parents jump. And what we do as people is we do the same things. We allow our environment to dictate to us. We allow our friends to dictate to us, our circle of associates to dictate to us how high we jump. When I was in the 6th grade and the teacher asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up, and she had everybody write an assignment on a piece of paper, I wrote down on a piece of paper I wanted to be on TV. She called everybody's name and had them stand up at their desk, and when she got to mine, she said, "Little Stevie, come up to the front of the class." I'm thinking this is a great moment for me. I've written something on my paper so wonderful that it's better than all the rest. I'm going up to get a gold star. I got up there, she said, "Why did you write that on your paper?" And I said, "Because that was our assignment for today." She said, "But why did you write it on your paper, though?" I said, "Because I want to be on TV." Then she just started breaking me down. Who do you know on TV? Anybody in this school ever been on TV? No, ma'am. Anybody in your family ever been on TV? No, ma'am. She just destroyed me in front of these cats. I thought I was getting the gold star, found out I wasn't. I was heartbroken. She reported me to my parents, and I'm being a smart aleck in class, sent me home with the note pinned on me. I got home, I'm thinking I'm in a world of trouble. My mom tells my dad that I've been a smart aleck in class, and I'm writing down stuff that's unrealistic. He said, "Well, what did you want to be, son?" I said, "I wrote on my paper, I want to be on TV." He looked at my mother and said, "Well, what's wrong with that?" She said, "Because the teacher says that's unreasonable." He said, "How does she know?" And that was the first moment that I found out that my father, who had a 3rd grade education, who my mother taught to read and write, I said, "Man, this guy's on to something." So he told me what did she want you to write? I said, "A policeman or fireman or ball player." She said, "Write that on the paper and give it back to her." She said, "But every morning when you wake up, take your paper, put it in your drawer. Read your paper every morning when you wake up, and read your paper every night before you go to bed. If you turn your TV on today, the little boy in the 6th grade is on TV." Very true statement. Because my father informed me, "Son, take the lid off of your jar." And that's what the book is about, is to help people understand no matter who you are, no matter where you are in life, you can take the lid off of your jar. And if you're wondering if you still have the lid on in your life, here are some clues that's going to let you know that the lid is still on. If you're not excited about waking up in the morning, if you're sitting around bored out of your mind, if you got time to do everything anybody asks you to do, you probably got the lid on. If when you tell your dreams to all your friends, it makes sense to them. you got your lid on, man. Your dreams should not make sense to everybody. You got to say something that make people go, how you gonna do that? That's when you got the lid off. And if I were you, I'd do that. I'd take the lid off. Makes sense to me, don't it? We'll be right back, folks.